Hello everybody. In this quick tutorial I want to show you how we can find quartiles and the interquartile range of a dataset. So let's quickly assume we have a dataset, whatever the data are, something like that. And what we can do with this data set is we can order it in, say, ascending order. And we can, for this data set, we can calculate the median. So that would be the median here. And we know that the median splits the data in 50% and 50%. So it splits it in two equal parts. And now we can also find the median of the lower half. So that would be here. And we can find the median of the upper half, which would be probably something like here. And we would call this the sort of, here this would be the median of the lower half. And we would have 25%. And we've got another 25% of the data. Here we've got, of course, 25%. And here we also have 25% of the data. And we can even visualize that. So we can do a box and whisker plot. And so this first median here, this would be the first quartile, Q1. That's this one here. The median of the overall thing, that would be Q2, our second quartile, and then we've got the third quartile here, quartile 3, and that would be here the remaining part, that would be the fourth quartile. And very often what we calculate is the first, second, and third quartile, and we can even calculate the difference between the third quartile minus the first quartile, and this is known as the interquartile range. And that can come in quite useful when we, for example, look for outliers or something like that. Okay, so how are we going to calculate these things? And there are actually two methods, and it's a little bit confusing. So let me show you how we can calculate quartile 1 and quartile 3. Quartile 2 usually is not a big problem because we can use just simply the median of the data set. So let's assume we've got the data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and conveniently this is already ordered quite nicely, so we don't have to put that in any ascending or descending order. And we can very easily calculate the median of that. I just simply do it like this from both sides, and we've got the median of 4, so that would be our Q2. So that's quite easy. And now what we have got left is the lower half of the data and the upper half of the data. And now we need to make a decision how we split the data actually. Should we include the median? Should we include the Q2? Or should we exclude it? Now, let's try first the exclusion. And let's try to figure out what our data would be. So for the exclusion, we would have the data 1, 2, 3, but we don't take 4. And for the upper half, we would have the data 5, 6, and 7. Again, we do not include this number 4. And now we can easily calculate the median of the lower half. So the median would be 2, so that would be our Q1. And for the upper half, the median would be 6, so that would be Q3. And we could calculate Q3 minus Q1. That simply would be 6 minus 2, and our interquartile range would be 4, IQR. Now, in Excel, we can do that very easily. It has a function. It's called quartile. So, quartile function. And it basically takes the data that you have. And I should probably indicate that in Excel, we have an additional option here. Since we excluded the data of the mean, we have the XC function. So quartile exclude means we do not use the median for it. So here we then have our data, A1 to, let's say, A7 in this case, if this is our data. And then we just simply put in which quartile we want. So if we want the first quartile, we put a 1 for first quartile. Well, let me write it like that. And we can put in a 3 for Q3. So that is how we can calculate actually the interquartile range with the exclusion method. We could also say we use the inclusion method. So again, we have our data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is our median, that's our Q2. And now we use the inclusion method where we include the value for the median. So we would have the data 1, 2, 3, 4 for our lower half, and we have the data 4, 5, 6, 7 for the upper half of the data. And you see we've included the median, and we can now, of course, do the median of the lower half. So the median of the lower half would be between 2 and 3. So that would be Q1. That would be 2.5. And the median for the upper half would be between 5 and 6. So Q3 would be 5.5. And therefore the IQR for this would be 5.5 minus 2.5 equals 3. So here we've got smaller IQR, smaller interquartile range, than with the exclusion method. Again, Excel allows you to calculate that and choose this option, equals quartile dot INC, which stands for inclusion, and we have A1 to A7. And then again, we make a choice whether we want the first quartile. So here 1 for quartile 1, or we put in a 3 for quartile 3. And Excel is quite flexible. It allows you this flexibility. If you do the calculation in R will use the inclusion method. So that is used for R. In Excel, you can choose which one you want to use. If you use this for a box and whisker plot, be aware that in Excel, the box and whisker plot and whisker plot like I did it up here in this drawing up here, that this box and whisker plot in Excel is using the exclusion method. So when you draw this box and whisker plot with the graph function in Excel, it will always use the exclusion method, which gives you a slightly wider interquartile range. Does it matter? Well, yes and no. If you've got a large data set, it doesn't matter whether you use the inclusion or exclusion method. If you've got a smaller data set, yes, it does matter. But there is no hard and fast rule whether you should use exclusion or inclusion, as long as you are consistent. So if you do all the calculations with the exclusion method, that's absolutely fine. If you do all the calculations with the inclusion method, that's also absolutely fine, but you can't mix and match. You can't use for one the inclusion and for the other one the exclusion method. It's very important, however, that you very clearly state in your methods or in the legend to any box plots what method was actually used, whether the quartiles were calculated by the exclusion method or the inclusion method. So I hope this makes sense, and thank you very much for watching.